Uh, just an announcement, we are having a CXO dinner meet this evening where we have CIOs from Yahoo, Ericsson, Siemens, and various other companies like Flipkart, etc. They are coming in. So what we are doing to our participants is allowing them one of you an opportunity to be a part of that board meeting, see what's their current priorities are. So we have a whiteboard outside where we are asking for RSVP, and do write in your name there. We'll select one person by lottery, and that person will get an opportunity to be a part of that CXO meet. So use that. Yes, Gokul. We can announce it.
Thank you, Nitesh. Okay, the presentation on test automation tool or test automation solution will be presented by Mr. Mahesh Kulkarni. He's the Managing Director and Principal Test Architect at A4 Technologies. So, sir.
Good morning, all. Welcome, everyone. Am I audible to all? Hi. Good. So, a lot of people in balcony there, so good. Right. So, quickly about the introduction. My name is Mahesh Kulkarni. I am a Managing Director and Principal Test Architect at A4 Technologies. A4 Technologies is into software testing services since 2007, and by role here, Managing Director by virtue of business decisions, and Principal Test Architect more because of my liking. So this discussion is more about for the audience who really deal with test automation nitty-gritties. They need to take some decisions. They need to keep businesses happy. A lot of big enterprises have a lot of muscle power to deal with organized processes and so on and so forth. But since yesterday we have been hearing a lot about agile and lean and so on and so forth, continuous integration, continuous deployment. So this topic discusses about practical issues, aspects, and tries to throw a certain some amount of light on some decisions, that hard decisions that we need to take when we go about creating test automation for our products. This is more about, as I said, this is more about selection, and I see that you guys are good at that because you chose the right presentation at this point in time. So, but nevertheless, this discussion will help us explore about the test automation approach. So, before we get deep into the topic, let's take a recap of test automation. Test automation got a service or a profession in itself in late 1990s and early 2000s. So basically, it was I was fortunate enough to work close with the industry starting this phase. So the quality itself was not really, it was identified different than the business. So that the test automation history starts from then. So in earlier days, if you look around late 1990s or early 2000, still applications were dominated by Windows. They were classically Windows desktop applications or Windows client-server applications, distributed applications. However, the dominance by was Windows. As ever, technology is changing, and we got eventually web applications, simple web application, and they got complex web applications. And then as mobile communications got in the industry, we've got that added up with native applications for the small form factor devices. Apple, Google, Microsoft are front runners. So this is the distribution market sharing published. These stats are published by Net Applications entity. So they continuously update this, but this is as on May 2014. So Windows pretty much dominates this market, along with, if you look at it, if you observe the trend, OS X, which is Mac, Apple operating system is catching up pretty fast. Linux also, you see some presence there. Similarly, if you look at mobile system on the similar front, again by Net Applications, you see, Yeah, so you see iOS, Android pretty much competing neck to neck, and Windows Phone, if you look at the trend, Windows Phone is really catching up faster. So now if we basically go back to the topic of test automation fundamentals, so we need to understand, and it's a fact, by now it's established that test automation is important, right? But test automation is important. Again, this is for more of a SMB kind of organizations where there are a lot of pulls on the resources side. The resources can be put to use. Resources can be put to use in various ways. So one has to agree, the core team, core stakeholders have to agree that test automation is an. When I build test automation build, it has to be so robust it can be my product validation kit, right?
Here is our first challenge. The challenge is test automation planning. That's another important area is done around the tool. By that, what I mean is, if you take any enterprise app, right? Any classical enterprise app, which has different layers in it. It has data storage layer, data transport layer, services layer, one or more services layer, and UI layers. And there are a mix and match of technologies one can think of, based on the priorities of the organizations and business and so on. So, single tool cannot support verification of different layers, right? Now, there are hardly any tools which even many of the tools claim that they have very comprehensive support by virtue of different components. It's very difficult that a single tool can support these different layers of verification. So what happens automatically, focus is moved onto the layers of the areas of the components that are supported by chosen tool. Another challenge is about test automation framework, right? Before getting into this, I'd like to understand what is your idea about test automation framework? Because someone has said one of the decisions or parameters we included is automation framework. So some ideas. This is a really layman's kind of discussion, so no buzzwords, and we don't want to do this on Friday, right? Actually, so pretty day-to-day activities.
It's kind of logic that you build on the top, that how are we going to organize it, how are we going to use the repository, how are we going to run it, the reporting, the next step.
Exactly, right? This is something, it's my custom application, right? It's my custom harness that will help me do the automated testing. So it helps me build, define or configure test suites, right? There is a support. I've given a hotfix, right? For the hotfix, I need to execute test cases, right? So what I do is I need to pick and choose test cases, right? I don't have time, right? There's SLAs of 4 hours. I don't have that kind of time. So I need, at the same time, I cannot have QA team just waiting when will we get hotfix and then just do nothing, right? So I need to be able to build, define, and configure my test. I should have a good dashboard, right? This is pretty much a requirement because there's this ongoing activity and I need to have some kind of a dashboard where I can track my test execution, whether it's happening, whether it's stuck, at what speed it is happening, and so on, so forth, right? Trends. I should be able to play with test data, right? We just had this discussion about how data is going to be important.
So need to be able to play with test data. I need good reports, right? This is what management wants. They need some kind of a transparency in whether the automation is robust, executed properly or not. And if there are any issues, I need to be able to figure out the application issues or automation issues. So I need to be able to relate the reports with the logs. I should be able to relate results with the test cases, right? Otherwise, I have a bunch of automated test cases and I have a bunch of manual test cases. I cannot have two different repositories or the reports to look for. I need notifications, right? Nowadays, this become agile stuff, so a lot of collaboration is important and rapid communication is important. Archival of reports, right? For example, I have my branches get upgraded, right? I have versions released and basically my automation's latest revision gets upgraded with the new functionality. I also need to keep a copy of test automation framework for a respective branch I released, respective version I released, respective release I made. The reason is that if there is a hotfix on that, I don't want to really modify my existing automation and run it. I don't have that kind of time. So I typically keep, this is one of the good practices of test automation, you keep your code base versions of your actual release and test automation release same, right? You cut a new branch for your product, you cut a new branch for your automation. It has to be 1:1. So I need, for a given branch, I need archival of reports as well, because If I want to reproduce it on my existing code base, I won't be able to do that. And there are many such features, right? It's up to us based on what our product has, what kind of stories our product has, whether it supports cloud story, whether it supports mobile story. I should be able to add those features. The challenge here is that when I choose a particular tool, I have to stick to the features of the tool, right? I cannot go beyond that. We can go extend that, but there are other challenges where, right? Before coming to that, there's another thing I would like to highlight here is the tool. When we have a tool is a product itself, right? When we take a particular tool, it's commercial, non-commercial, it's a product in itself. So it comes with its own SLAs, disclaimers and all, right? Again, by the way, I'm not completely rebel on tools. So I'm just going to emphasize the use of the tool at the right place in overall scenario. So it comes with its own SLAs and disclaimers. It has its own product roadmap, defined releases, and we have to appreciate that, right? I have seen many cases, at least 2 cases with 2 leading tool vendors, where they just refused to take on enhancements because they could not just take them on a higher priority because they had other high priority enhancements already in line as a part of their product roadmap. So we had to wait. So a lot of the test cases got blocked because of these 2 enhancements. So we do not have any control on enhancements of the tool. Last 2 are not really great problems, but still they are logistics challenges. So basically when a tool comes, it comes with its business proposition. So a lot of these tools, they give a very common features as a part of a base platform, and then rest of them are as a plugins. So what it does is basically it takes your estimation, your estimations for overall automation cost and go for toss. The reason is basically you never thought of these plugins, or basically you never thought of that my product in future will have to support a mobile story, right? So that's where we need to and licensing constraint, because we are kind of relying completely on the tool. We have to go by their licenses. If there are any changes in the licensing policies, we have to live with that. Now, as I said, we can always have workarounds for this. For example, scenarios such as extending the tool for identifying complex controls, a typical case in UI automation, or integration with the test management tool. I have already invested in test management tool, right? I need to be able to use my test management tool asset along with the automation. I need to be able to map my test results back to the test management tool. Custom reporting logging. For some reason, as I said, if I get into another mobile applications from my classical web-based applications, I need to be able to make sure that my reporting matches both the automation requirements. Integration with custom drivers. Here, drivers word is used in different contexts in test automation, right? So when we say drivers, it's the one which drives the harness, right? It lets you run your. It's not like a web driver kind of a driver. It's like a feature in your framework which will help trigger your automation. So it's the interface for automation. And other workarounds also we can come up with based on. But the challenge here is that we cannot do it in-house. We need to typically go to the experts of these tools, right? Many cases these people are from the same tool organization who have eventually started own consulting and so on and so forth. But then basically it comes with a lot of cost overheads, right? And the availability of those experts, right? Again, there are a couple of cases where one case particularly I'd like to mention is we were automating online poker for a good organization. And this online poker came with a lot of good graphics, right? It had a lot of graphics. So we used one of the leading test automation tools where we could automate a lot of other. So pilots, whatever POCs were conducted, and then they already chose this tool. And then when we came across this new product of theirs, it was not able to identify certain things actually. So pretty much 50-60% of the test cases got blocked. So then when approached them, they said that this is a valid requirement, but unfortunately it cannot be delivered right away or a short period of a time. It will have to wait for that. So we have like 25 licenses of this tool, and people sitting and waiting for the tool to give them enhancement. So that's the challenge. Then we have to involve another agency which could basically get the extensions developed, and then we could go ahead with the automation. So if you look at it, when we go for the tool-based approach over a period, around, again, this 2080 is just by notion of 2080 law or rule we go with. It's not that high, but a lot of part is out of framework which is customized. If you look at your automation framework, if you go with the tool approach for a fairly decently complex and rapidly developing application, at the end of 1 or 2 years, you see that your framework has 80% or equivalent of it, very high component of it is custom, right? You have developed on top of the tool. It has become very complex. The reason is that because you have customized it to a great extent. Overall investment because of that is very high, because not purely the licensing cost of the tool and the people who have worked on it, but a lot of extensions. So, but that's not a bigger challenge. The bigger challenge is the test coverage. The test coverage is limited all the time because of the tool capabilities. Now we go back to the test automation fundamentals again agree to the fact that test automation is important for me. I need to ask myself the right question, and then that question is what solution, right? So if I ask these questions, then a lot of these questions that you guys have asked, right? These questions come in your mind. When I say what solution, I need some requirements for the solution, right? Then I ask, what's my test automation strategy, right? Okay, to answer this, you need to ask more questions. What are those questions? If you need to ask yourself, what is my test automation strategy? You need to ask other questions, right? Nothing complex. It's all straightforward. What is my test strategy, right? Isn't it? What are my product quality goals? Yeah. What are my product business goals, right? Estimated budgeted cost of quality. Yes. Time to test, right? We should ask all these questions, right? Before getting into the what should be my test coverage and code coverage, right? Test area